And then if any of you have questions during this time, just feel free to, you can either just unmute yourself and say, hey, I have a question, or you can put it in the chat, go through this information. Cool. So lots of you have asked questions about the program manager position and kind of what it entails. This is a supplement. So when I say supplement, just an add-on to our program, because a lot of the time, one, students are looking for either more experience or more one-on-one or hands-on training. And I think that can be something that is really important. For us, we built this program so students had the opportunity to really strategically navigate through their career rather than just kind of like aimlessly wandering through their career. And by giving them some leadership position or understanding of how to organize programming, content, projects, whatever it might be in your specific case. This has been something that's been helpful. We'll talk about some of the students who have gone through this program. And there's a few other that we left out, but we'll talk about their journeys and all of that stuff. So the biggest thing is kind of like what I talked about, right? This is just a way to have strategic effort. So what does strategic effort mean? Well, it just means, how am I utilizing, well, let's put it in more of a niche, right? This is, let's say if you were in the DIM University program, you really learned how to execute and work on these projects, and what would it look like if you were actually in this career. The next step of this is owning that and fully just kind of going in with it, right? So before, I would say you were getting ideas and then executing it. You're still going to do a little bit of that, but more so you're strategizing on how do these ideas work and how are they implemented in the bigger scheme or the bigger picture of what we're doing. And then also, sometimes there'll be some like freelance projects in there that will put you on as well. And those can be some other opportunities that you'll see. So like I said, big picture, if you are in the program, the beginning portion of it is just execution on things that you're doing, right? So, hey, this is the idea. Need you to figure out how to execute on it. And now you're learning how to execute. Now, since you've learned how to execute, now you're not only going to execute, but you're also going to be and play a role into the strategic portion of it. And we'll tap into that. So what does it look like? So MWF just means Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but schedule weekly strategy meetings. So what we do, or what we used to do, because there's no program manager right now, but what we used to do is we would have our strategy meetings Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And those strategy meetings happen previous to our morning meetings. So really jumping into these meetings and giving updates on where your groups are with projects, but then also asking questions and having time to talk about, how do I answer some of these questions? Maybe you got a lot of questions on Slack the night before or the few days before. How do I jump in there and answer those questions? Or how do I help guide these students to a specific project? Bi-weekly career strategy conversations. So that's what we'll kind of talk about the end, how to navigate through your career and connect with the right people. And then the last part, or the last few parts, is what does your schedule look like? Very similar to what it looks like in this current program, but you'll have two meetings that you'll be locked into. So let's just say hypothetically, Conti wants to be a program manager. Conti will be in charge of film and visual storytelling, and then he'll also lead DIM Studios as well. So those will be his two groups that he's leading. So we'll kind of talk about what those areas look like and where you're trying to get experience, and then help to kind of organize and build off of that. The other thing is splitting up open door commitment. So let's just say a few of you want to be part of, or let's just say from a time zones instance, right? Adrian can't do the evening open door, but she can do morning open door. Then Adrian will do morning open door if Conti can do evening. door, then he can do evening open door. So that's kind of like a little bit of what that would all look like in that space. And for as far as hours, it's about 20 to 30 hours per week, I believe. I think we say the internship is about 20 hours a week. So it's about in that time range as well. So leadership. Most people think leadership is just delegating, right? Like, hey, you do this, you do this. But the key to effective leadership is getting in the weeds and the mud with the people, right? So the one thing I always try to emphasize in this program is everything that you're doing is stuff that I already do on a day-to-day basis. I would never have you do anything that I wouldn't do, because that from that instance, I can't lead or give you advice or help you get to that point. But then also leadership is, all right, if I know you're having a stressful week or if you have exams, I'm going to jump in as a leader and help get that assignment done, right? And that's the part that they don't really teach most people in leadership. Most people talk about leadership and they think about it in a manner of, oh, I'm just going to delegate this task and that's it, right? I've already done this, so you just need to worry about this or you just need to do this. And I'll just kind of like figure it out or help to steer you into the right direction. That's not necessary leadership. And the other goal of leadership is making sure we get the students to the point that they want to ultimately get to, right? So if any of you have played sports, always think of an analogy where it's like, for me, and this is, I'll just kind of break this down for you, but in basketball, right? When you're training for basketball, most of you all know basketball players run up and down the court constantly. It's a constant back and forth. Any sport, really, you do that. Maybe less in football, but basketball for sure, you're running up and down the court constantly. In those first few weeks of practice, most of what you're going to do is run, not even touch a basketball. You're just going to run. Why? Because you need to get in condition. You need to be in condition to actually effectively play the game. So if you're not able to run up and down, now I can't actually get to where I ultimately want to be as a better basketball player. So that first part of conditioning sucks, right? Nobody wants to focus on conditioning, but it helps you to get to your ultimate goal. And that's how I would describe leadership, right? These first few weeks of joining a program are going to feel uncomfortable. You're not gonna know everything, so it's gonna be very intimidating, but our goal is ultimately to get them to that next step of where they want to be. And that's the same thing with the program manager position. My goal is to get you to that next step. If that next step is, hey, you know what, I want to do more work with them, cool, you can do more work with them and we can figure out if that's the right time. Or if your goal is, hey, I want to get to a specific job, then you can get to that specific job, right? And that's our main goal and objective. So takeaways, this is what you're going to work on: deeper understanding on how to lead projects, ideation to full-on execution. So coming up with a concept and fully executing on that. And that's going to be on a week-to-week basis. And then teamwork and organizing talent. So what does teamwork and organizing talent mean? Well, when you think of larger companies or jobs or projects or anything that you're really doing in an effective business, you have to organize the people that you want to work on those projects. So you have to start to identify strengths. I don't use the term weaknesses, but spaces of opportunities and areas that people are going to succeed. So if you see one person is a little better at a specific project versus another project, it would make sense to put them in that space on a quicker project, a space where they can excel and be happy in. On a longer term project where you don't need it in the next week, but maybe in the next 2.5 weeks, that's the space where you can allow the person to grow, right? You don't have to put them in a crazy space where they're going to fail and they're going to be frowned up. They're going to not be happy in that, right? We want to make sure that the students are happy, but we also want to challenge them and give them areas where they can show that their skill sets and build their confidence. And then the last two parts are one-on-one mentorship with Mo. So those will be in our career conversations and then career guidance as well. Any questions on any of that before I move on to the next portion? It's more of a student breakdown.
Good here.
Cool. So let's look at this. Little to no, no to little experience. So these are a few students. These are real screenshots of students who have been intern managers in this space. So Angel came, was a reference from a friend, but made her go through the same space, and she had no experience in public relations, and she learned a little bit about DIM. Started off with, like I said, very little knowledge on it, but really wanted to grow and build in that space. And now Angel has gone to, and her LinkedIn's not fully updated, but Angel's actually just worked a freelance gig for us at the shop. But Angel's already interviewing and getting her full-time job. And in between this time, as you can see, she worked those 2 internships. And that was through when she was getting her MS in Global Strategic Communications. So after she went through our intern manager position, then she got her master's as well in global strategic communications, and is building her career and vetting offers now from a public relations standpoint. Jake came into our program right before the pandemic and ended it right during the pandemic. But Jake was a videographer who didn't have as much experience, but wanted to build upon his skill set, got the intern manager position, founded his own company with him and Armand, which are 2 students within our program who do a lot of great work in the Chicago area, but then also does portraits with JCPenney's as well. Another example of little to no experience. So creative consultant was just really our first program manager position. Daisy was actually the first person ever to do our program manager position. And during that time, she really didn't have as much experience, but was able to grow her foundation of what she wanted to do. So she really loved events and did a lot of our event programming. This is when we were mainly DIM events and focused on constant events. And now she's a national events coordinator for Guaranteed Rate, right? So she's been able to grow through her career, and we've been able to help her in that space to be advocates, speak on her behalf, or be references in that space as she's gone from career to career as well. So it's really cool to see, especially Daisy start, because that was our first ever program manager position that we ever had. Next is Anna, right? Anna is another example. So Anna, what you can't see before this, because Anna has a long resume, but Anna was a student at NYU and was in acting and did a complete 360. Anna was actually one of the last interviews I had did for those for the program, and Anna talked about her experience, what she wanted to do, and we gave her a chance. And because of that, she fully dove into the opportunity. The Have a Map podcast was actually one of her ideas that she produced. As you can see, kind of is cut off at the public relations space. Was an intern manager. And during that time as an intern manager, she shared with me what she wanted to do with the Have a Map podcast. We set up an interview with her and Alexis Moresco, who now she's the director of communications for. But set that interview up because I thought they would have similarities and areas of interest that they really wanted to work on. And through that, she started to intern with the person. And then as she went through her intern manager position, then she actually got a job with Anna, and now has grown to be the director of communication, travels around the world, does a bunch of stuff with Anna, with Alex, who's the founder of Moresco PR. So yeah, another example of someone with no experience. These are people who built off of their school experience. Cheyenne was with us for a while, and during that time, she really learned what area she wanted to focus in on, and she wanted to go more in that health awareness space. And as you can see, she's grown in that space. Cheyenne started with us as a freshman, so it's cool to see someone who started early figure out what direction they want to go through in their career trajectory. And then also moving forward, we have Aaliyah, right? Aaliyah, great student. Started in our IO program, kind of what Maddie and Morelda do in that space, became an intern manager and was going into grad school. And during that time, looking for a job. And she ended up getting a job as a holistic consultant with the company at the top. So she's been with them for a long time, working part-time until she moves forward and gets that position full-time. But that was one of the instances where through the intern manager space, she built the career skill set and was able to utilize that to get to a part-time job that's going to lead to a full-time job once she finishes her master's. And then Ariana, another person within our social media space who worked with us for a while, really was trying to learn and build off of her school experience. And then by building off of that school experience, was able to focus in on getting a career in a different space that she really wanted to, but something that she was still interested in and researching and understanding the space that she's in as well. And then these last two people, right? These were people who had experience, one in IO and the other in design. But these two people had great experience already, but we're just looking to build confidence. And ironically, they were actually managers at the same time. And based on that, they're able to grow and excel in their career field. So one thing that I would say from Eric is he kind of just dove in and was open to helping in different areas, not just in design, but outside of design, and really trying to get a full grasp and understanding of how design fits into a business. And I think that's what's helped him in his design career now. Now he's secured his full-time employment. Kelso is a little bit different. Kelso or Raquel, some of you were on the career panel, but she talked about her journey where one of her things was she wanted to go into this career field. She went into it. And as you can see, she got multiple full-time jobs in that space, but realized that that's not actually the space she wanted to be in. And by doing that, she was able to make a career shift. And I helped her in that career shift and really tried to be a reference in that space. So I wanted to show you all these examples because it's so many different ways that you can get into your career space, right? Some of those ways are really just building off of your school experience, or if you don't have school experience, then just building off of your own freelance experience, right? I think there's many ways that you can do it. It doesn't have to be one way. And that's the cool thing with this program is I don't have all the answers, right? But I know what we put students through in this program has helped them to gain and create insight into what direction they want to go into. And by understanding what direction you want to go into, now you have a strategic, right? Like what we talked about at the beginning, strategic effort of going into a space and knowing, okay, I don't like to do this, but I do enjoy this. And now I also have the experience behind me to say, hey, I've done these types of things before. So when you go into a job interview, now you can translate and correlate to that experience that you've already attained in other spaces and say, hey, I've done X, Y, and Z. This is how it connects to what the job you're trying to offer me or the job I'm applying for. And those are the cool things that help for you to move throughout your career. But then also at the end of the day, it's part of a give back, right? The biggest thing with this program is giving back to the next generation of students. So the same way that we do this on a day-to-day basis, the other round of it is not only getting to your career, but helping the next person get to their career. Because ultimately what you're doing is starting to build your network of people through this as well. And that can ultimately get you to where you want to be in the future. There's plenty of students who've built their network through this and now have utilized these areas to get job offers, or now we have such a huge network of people that now if a student reaches out, I can say, hey, connect with this student who was previously in the program, and they should be willing to help you or give you insight. That's what I just did with Angel, and then a few other students who wanted to move to the New York area, put them in a group message, and now they're all connected, especially when going to somewhere like New York, which can be intimidating. You have that group of students who are already there, who can maybe not going to 100% see you all the time, but at least you can start to build your network and rapport with other people. So yeah, I think that's the last slide. Any questions? Okay, cool. If any questions come up, let me know. What we'll do is we'll send out a link for if those people are interested in applying to our program manager position. We'll send out a link, and then you can start the application process.
Hi, Mo, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I missed out on most of the meeting. My apologies. I wanted